All right, and we are live. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's your girl here. I gotta find me a new intro, child. I use that for everything I'm on. But nevertheless, we are here with another episode of Meet the Clinician. All right. I'm Larneka Lavalais, your host, and I'm grateful that you have chosen to spend this part of your evening with us. Okay, you could have been doing anything, anywhere, but you decided to join us, and for that, I am grateful. So tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing an accomplished clinician, leader, and advocate for mental wellness, Miss Linda White, LPC supervisor, owner of HigherView Counseling and Consulting. Linda earned her master's degree in counseling from Prairie View A&M University and her bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Lamar University. Go LU. Okay. She brings more than 21 years of experience as a drug treatment specialist with the Federal Bureau of Prisons and has dedicated the past several years to serving individuals and families as a licensed professional counselor. She is certified in mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, trust-based relational intervention. Oh, that's a new one for me. Neuro-linguistic programming and social emotional learning. Okay, Linda. Okay. Throughout her career, Linda has remained committed to helping people heal, build resilience, and create meaningful change in their lives. Tonight, we'll learn more about her professional journey, her passion for mental health, the clients she serves, and the wisdom she gained throughout her career. Please help me to welcome tonight's featured clinician, Miss Linda White. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here tonight. Thank you
I'm
so
so
much.
happy. You know what? As I was driving home, I was trying to think about how long it's been since we met. Because our journey goes back, oh my goodness, to at least maybe 2016, somewhere 2017-ish.
Lamar State College, or
Yes.
yes.
I was at excuse me, I was working for Samaritan, and we had a program for college students to be able to come in and get so many sessions. And I remember we excuse me, kind of kept in touch for like whatever other things, because I had your email and I remember
Yes.
like, hey, we got this grief group, we got this, we got that. And and just kind of lost touch for a while, didn't just, I don't know. Excuse me.
Yeah, we circled back with
Mhm.
within the mental health field. So we get reconnected. But it was, yes, 20. You were at Samaritan, I was adjunct at Lamar State College, and then we ended up just reuniting, reconnecting.
And that's awesome because we were talking with some of the other clinicians that it's good to have a network,
For
you
sure.
know, because I don't know everything.
Yes,
I know what I've experienced,
yes.
and so it's good to have other, clinicians that we can talk with and consult and everything. And so we have some people that are saying, welcome. Thank you all for joining us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook Live. We appreciate you all.
Yes.
All right, Melinda, let's go on and get started.
Okay.
So your journey into counseling, with all of these things, all of your accolades and stuff, what inspired you to become a therapist?
Initially, I would say the community that I grew up in, I noticed a lot of people were surviving, if you will, as opposed to thriving
Mm.
within their daily living. But more importantly, I wanted to be able to, I switched from social work, it was my total intent when I was at Lamar University. I switched over to counseling, and it was a
Okay.
better fit for me to be, I wanted to be more compassionate, empathetic. It's not that social workers don't do that. However, for me, I wanted a whole framework to be able to not only help individuals within their crisis or their grief or their trauma, but just
Mhm.
daily transitions, because life is lifing, for us
Yes.
all. And so sometimes we just need be able to stop and pause and have some coping strategies in order to help us move forward or navigate a particular situation. And then we, pick back up and keep moving and find those coping strategies on how to manage our lives during that time. And so I wanted that and the compassion. Once I started, it just continued.
Okay, now could you repeat that because you kind of faded out? I don't know if that's me or you.
Oh, okay. Did you
That
hear any
last
of it?
part. I heard all of it except that last part that you want to
Okay.
pivot to coping
Just
skills.
the became a passion for me, and I'm compassionate about what I do, and so I enjoy what I do. It doesn't feel like a job to me
Okay.
because I enjoy what I do.
Awesome. That's what they say. If you love your career, your job, you
You'll
never work
never
a day in your
you'll
life.
never work a day in your life.
Trust me, today I left my 9 to 5 and I was like, oh, I have a podcast. I was a little tired. And they were like, you like to stay busy? I'm like, no, I just like what I do. So it took me a good little 10-minute power and I'm here.
There
Okay.
you go. Oh, good. Good.
Definitely. So did your work at the Federal Bureau of Prisons, encourage any of you, give you any ideas about wanting to go into social work or counseling?
Yes, it actually did. The job at the Federal Bureau of Prisons, I facilitated a 9-month comprehensive modified therapeutic community program for
Okay.
male offenders. And those male offenders was in a residential 9-month program. They had to meet a DSM-5 criteria for
Wow.
substance abuse or substance dependence. And
Mm-hmm.
if they qualified for that program, we would go over establishing what criminal lifestyles look like, cognitive distortions, all of cognitive behavior therapy strategies, relapse prevention, maintenance plan. They even had to write autobiographies about themselves. We had victim impact statements. And so it was a community concept. And the incentive for them was if they successfully completed that program, if they did not have a crime of violence, they could qualify to receive up to 12 months off their sentence.
Oh
Well,
wow.
obviously, that's a great incentive,
Yeah.
correct?
Uh-huh.
However, throughout those 9 months, with learning all these modalities, you can actually see a change in these grown men, the shift when they
Mm-hmm.
were changing mentally, when you
Yeah.
could see them identify, hold themselves accountable for their distorted thoughts or their behaviors, because that's what got them to prison. Their best thinking got them there. And
Yeah.
so the goal was, how do you get out, go through reentry and stay out? The beauty
Mm-hmm.
of that program was also when the offenders would leave, they would write back to their community and they would share stories of, I've gotten custody of my child. They've even
Mm-hmm.
invited us, to their wedding. I'm getting married. Uh, it really changed. You could see the measurement of their growth because they didn't have to write back.
Mm-hmm.
What was the benefit of writing back just to make something up? They could have just moved on with their lives. And
Yeah.
so a lot of them would write back and share stories about, hey, I was reunited, with my family. I even purchased a home. I have a legitimate job. And so doing it every day for over 20 years was so enjoyable and insightful for me. But the reason why I say we can measure their growth, because those that did not, they would be what we call recycled. They would be held back for
Mm-hmm.
3 months, because it was a 9-month program in every phase, which was a 3-month program. Total was 9 months, but every 3 months they would change.
Okay.
And so you can learn something different, learn something new. And so we would hold them back if we didn't see their treatment plan goals being met. So that influenced me when I actually retired to go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
start my own counseling service with my husband and I. And now we do individual couples, and things of that nature. And that's what influenced me and how it carried on into my life now.
Okay. Okay, good. Somebody in the comments said you encouraged the staff too during your
Aw,
time there. Yeah, yeah. But I can say, now I was a parole officer when I worked at Mark Stiles. And I wasn't, we didn't do the treatment part, but just knowing, learning these guys' stories, their backstories, all the stuff, the environments that they grew up in, just the dysfunctions in the homes and all of these things. Once they were removed from those environments, and maybe, the state,
Yes.
sometimes the state have programs, sometimes the state don't have programs. So
Based
those
on
who
the
may have been
funding.
fortunate enough to go through some program, you could see the change, and they understood, their decisions, their choices they made, and different things that they did, and they were ready to get out. And a lot of times, because the severity of whatever they may have done may have hindered their opportunities to make parole, or family wasn't around, because if you're coming from a dysfunctional
Yes.
home and you're going to parole back into that, it may be some stuff that parole guidelines say, now you can't go over there. So then
Right.
what would they do? And for me, I wanted to intervene. I wanted to catch any kid or young person who may have had similar stories to these gentlemen and help them find a different way in life so they would
Yes.
not end up in prison. Because you get a guy in there for 30 years, he can either sink or swim.
Right.
And for the swimmers, it's like, okay, I figured it out. Well, you can't get out. You still got some time. It's like, oh my
Yes.
goodness. So
Yes.
yes, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, but I truly loved, enjoyed my experience at the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Okay. So now that you have your practice and um, you're doing your thing, you're doing great things. What population do you enjoy working with the most?
I have two plus one, so I guess I have
Okay.
three. I'm going to say I have
Okay.
three, but I really have a top two.
Okay.
And the top two is, the first one is couples, relationships, whether you're premarital counseling, whether you're already married and you're having a bump in the road, there you're experiencing some struggles, whether it was 1 year, 5 year, 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
because life does happen, things happen, so problematic issues come up within the marriage, and also relationships in general, which
Mm-hmm.
can be challenging for some people. And my husband is a LCDC LPC as well.
Oh,
And
nice.
so
Okay.
my husband and I work side by side collaboratively when we facilitate presentations, when we do
Mm-hmm.
workshops, but also when we do couple sessions. So you're actually getting two professions for
Mm-hmm.
one. So
Nice.
when we counsel with um, marriage couples or premarital couples, both of us come into the sessions
Okay.
together collectively. So we really enjoy working with married couples and hosting workshops, and we do a lot within our church as well with
Mm-hmm.
the marriage ministry. So we pour into them as well as they pour into us. But we enjoy that. My second one is near and dear to my heart, which is
Okay.
working with the neurodivergent community, those with
Okay.
special needs.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that is that my oldest son, who's now 27, is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. And so when I have to work with a student, when I have to work with a child, when I have to go into an R meeting at the schools, when I work with, helping them manage the child for, and for consultations for IEPs, I can see both sides. I can
Yeah.
work with administrators and staff, but also, well, it's actually three sides. I can work with administrators and staff. I can
Mm-hmm.
actually help and advocate for the parents when sometimes they don't even know what to ask of
Yeah.
how to help their child.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love the best part is actually working with the child themselves, getting that
Yeah.
one-on-one, working with them to help self-regulate their emotions, or they're having a meltdown, how I can de-escalate the situation or
Yes.
remove them from a room, and they're going to be okay with it. So just having a language, knowing what to do, is important. And so that and my oldest son even is a driving force on why
Okay.
my husband and I continue to go ahead and pursue opening up our own counseling service, because we're advocates for the neurodivergent community.
I think that is awesome and definitely much needed. You know, at school, I don't see, the sped department world, because I work in a regular population.
Yeah.
I was about to say general pop, but child, we ain't the prison, okay?
Right, right.
But I do
Yeah,
have an
general,
opportunity.
traditional, neurotypical.
Yes, yes. But online, like on Facebook and TikTok, you've seen like some posts here lately with kids on a spectrum of some sorts, just kind of, I don't know if parents putting their children on there for, I don't know why. Like if the children maybe having a meltdown or something, they're recording that, and I see them trying to regulate the children, but you have a whole camera in their face too.
Right.
So I like, do we need to see that? Like, I really don't know the purpose, but it makes me feel like, well, maybe they need some help. And is that their way of expressing that, okay, a parent of a child with maybe some kind of disability or whatnot, or I don't know, the life, okay, I can imagine it would be difficult, but it's like your children are like overstimulated and you are putting cameras in their face. I don't get it.
Yes, I've noted. I've seen that as well. An increase in it. Actually, you're correct. And there are resources for
Mhm.
assistance. There's mental health facilities, there's counseling, there's ABA. So there's other means, but for whatever reason why these families are choosing to put their families, the vulnerability of it on social media,
Yeah.
not certain. However, I do realize that sometimes you are crying out for help. And so
Mhm.
when you're not getting those needs met, it can be very challenging. So when I do get a phone call, when I do get someone, if I don't have the answers, I seek the resources to try to help them navigate through that problematic issue on whatever it is, because it can very well be very dysfunctional, not only for the entire family, and then it spills over
Mhm.
into the school. And so if I can help bridge that gap and provide coping strategies, not
Mhm.
only for administrators and staff, but for the teachers that's working diligently with the special needs population, hands-on, one-on-one, then I'm open to do that.
I think that's awesome. That is
Thank you.
awesome. All right. So you have a certification in mindfulness based cognitive therapy. I need to check that out because you're the second clinician that has come on and mentioned it. I'm like, where have I been? Because I've missed that one. I need to definitely do my homework on that one and see. Um, and your other certifications, how do you have they shaped what you bring to the table, what you thought therapy would be, those additional certifications you have in addition to your license?
Yes, most definitely, because they all collaborate as a blend to be able
Mhm.
to allow me the opportunity to help manage on a client-centered, action-based perspective with the clients, with my
Okay.
clientele, with my population. And so I get to, you know, do a salad bowl, if you will, based on the need, based on all of those the framework of all
Mhm.
four of them. So my certifications allow me to be able to tune in on maybe self-regulation, or tune in on to distorted thoughts or past trauma or
Mhm.
unresolved issues that need to be met, and then reframe it and allow them opportunity to self-govern themselves by giving them coping strategies to be able to
Yeah.
manage those daily negative thoughts, for
Mhm.
example, or just when they're overstimulated, how to just take a breath, which is a form of mindfulness, being present in the moment with no judgment. Just
Yeah.
being able to take a moment and take a breath, and giving them those grounding techniques to be able to do that when they're overstimulated, when they're anxious, or even when they're sad and when they're depressed. And so
Mhm.
it's all about being able to allow them that opportunity to be able to gain that self-awareness about themselves and let them know that I'm not okay in this moment, and the issue may not be resolved, but I can manage my own emotions.
Yes. Yes, I think that is good. That is good. And as more research comes about, we learn more. One reason I'm glad that we do have our continuing education that we
Yes,
have to do, because there's advancement in therapy.
for sure.
Treatment, it's not the same stuff from what we may have learned in school. Things have changed, people have changed, and so I think that's pretty good. Excuse me. But speaking of the advancement, you know, you work at a school,
Yes.
in mental health. I have, and your church kind of honors mental health with the ministries that you work in. So the way I
Yes.
see it, mental health, or the mention of mental health, or the ideal of mental health, is kind of around more, in different facets. At one point, you may not have seen it in schools, or you may not have necessarily seen it in church, other than pastoral counseling. But mental health is around. You might could turn on whatever show, and somebody might have a therapist or a life coach or something on. You have a lot of programming and wording and things that are talking about mental health, but we still have this stigma.
Yes, we do.
I can go to church and be in the ministry, I could go wherever, but there's still a stigma. So why do you think that is? What is the misconception about therapy? Why do you think people not going? We everywhere for the most part. We was in the mall. Okay, we had a whole the AKAs had a whole mental health thing in the mall. So why do you think it's still a stigma and people not going?
There's several reasons. One definitely is cultural based,
Mm-hmm.
and it has trended through generations. And
Yeah.
so it stayed with the concept of what's said in my house, what's done in my house stays in my house, and I don't want people in my business. Another highlighted theme is I'm not crazy, so I don't
Yeah.
need to go talk to anyone. Another one is I'm not weak. There's a sign of weakness, but it's actually a sign of strength when you can
Mm-hmm.
identify and say, I'm not okay, and it's okay to not be okay, and knowing that you have resources available. So just
Yes.
like you have, if your tire is on flat, or you're not gonna go to discount tire,
Okay.
you know, if you're hungry, or you're not gonna stop by Chick-fil-A or whatever your favorite restaurant is and get something to eat, are you
Mm-hmm.
not going to go to the medical doctor? And so the mindset of the mental capacity that you don't want to talk to a psychotherapist, a therapist, or a counselor is because I'm not crazy. Then you're cheating yourself actually out of an opportunity for personal growth, emotional growth, resiliency, and
Mm-hmm.
learn more and more about yourself, which will help you be better in healthy relationships, not only with you, but with other people around you. And so I would that societal stigma
Yeah.
continues because of the mindset of people challenging what I just said. However, I love the fact that at my church, my pastor is open to it. In several churches that I'm affiliated with, they've asked me to come out. They've asked my husband to come out and talk about mental health, and I just get all warm in my heart because, like you said, it was not there years ago, and now they are embracing because it was either
Mm-hmm.
believe in God and that was it. So now they realize, yes, I believe in God. Yes, I'm a believer. I have my spiritual belief system. I can read my Bible, but I'm still struggling.
Yeah.
I still want to be challenged. And so when we know better, we do better to seek help for ourselves. You should love
Mm-hmm.
yourself enough to seek that help. And so I love the beauty that um, it's coming along. We still have a long way to go, but it is moving forward. And
Mm-hmm.
we host mental health seminars, especially in the month of May, Mental Health
Oh yeah.
Awareness Month. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but it shouldn't just be in the month of May because life is life in 12 years out of the month. And so,
Mm-hmm.
so we do embrace the opportunity anytime that we can to assist others navigate, their challenges, their emotional challenges.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Good, because um, one thing you said, nobody wants to be deemed crazy, because people have painted a picture of what mental health look like, or what they
Looks
think
like.
it looks like. But
Mhm.
it could be, I'm stressed. I'm
Yes.
stressed. My workload is stressful. My boss might be giving me a hard time, and now I'm anxious, and I have all these things going on.
Yes.
Okay, that's something that you could get help for. Talk to someone if you have something that may be a true disorder. As far as, I think people think of schizophrenia, people
Right.
think of
Mental
psychosis,
illness. Yeah.
yeah, some kind of mental illness. But that's one, that's something people
Yeah.
deal with. But then there are other things, bereavement. We, as we get older, and we have when we live in this world, We have natural disasters. I remember when Harvey came.
Oh
That
yes.
was when I did my most advocacy. It was like, all right, I understood. Everybody got affected, for the most
Yes.
part, in some kind of way.
Yes.
My home didn't flood, but my job did, and we had
Right.
to relocate somewhere else and all of that. And I remember I was like, "Oh, come! Ain't nobody wanted to come to
Yes.
our grief group because that's part of grief. Y'all, some people lost their entire homes,
That's
cars,
definitely.
all of those things. But then the moment I think I left and went on back into education, and we had a big rain. Next thing you know, hey, you it's like, yes, come on, I'm figuring out where we're gonna be, but come on, And so we just keep trying. We
Yes.
keep trying. This is really what this podcast is about: advocacy. We want to break the stigma. I would like for people to know more about the clinician, because I know traditionally, we're like the silent wonders, like, we calm and cool and collective, and you come in the side door so nobody know you come to therapy, and all that stuff. But it's like, who are we? And many
Right.
times people may not call because they don't know what to expect.
Yes.
And so this is an opportunity to introduce clinicians, at least the folk I know that that are doing the work, to an audience who may be curious about therapy and mental health, or may know someone who may be hesitant. So why should I call this therapist, or why should I call this therapist? Can I, are they offering what I need? Do they gel, mindset, all this other stuff? So this is why, I do what I do here with them.
Right. And I don't think I answered my third top
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
population, because
Okay.
probably was majority of the people that's on live are women. And so
Mm-hmm.
my third population is working with women. I
Okay.
enjoy sitting and talking, having a small group. It's just sitting and it could be informal or formal, a presentation at church, or we're just sitting, around at lunch, just actually processing and talking, not necessarily in a confidential setting, because, that wouldn't happen, but just
Yeah.
allowing people to just express themselves sometimes. And then that gives them an opportunity to say, hey, you know what, I think I might need to go to counseling. So that if even that alone can help navigate and push you,
For the
encourage you,
education.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, nudge you to move toward, I think I might need to go to counseling.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
for you to even to say that, you're answering your own question. It's just building
Mm-hmm.
that confidence to be able to do so.
Yes. Someone in the comments asks, or they're saying, so aggression may be a stem to mental health. Aggression. If someone is aggressive, or you're dealing with some microaggression, because child, we can talk about that. But anything that'll bring you any stress, any stressors, whether it's job, school, relationship, interpersonal stuff, childhood
Yes,
trauma,
yes.
anything you might be dealing with. These are things that can, if it affects your emotional state, it affects your psychological state. These are things that are under the umbrella of mental health.
Your
It doesn't
physical
have to.
state,
Physical state,
sleep
yes.
pattern,
Hmm.
eating pattern, those are all the symptoms leading to a clinical diagnosis of
Yes.
mental health disorder.
And so it doesn't have to
Good
be a
question.
psychosis. It doesn't have to be I don't know, and people function. You can go to work every day and still have something going on.
Yes.
You can play ball, whatever you like. We one session we talk about athletes. You have athletes, they look fine, they throwing the ball, they doing their thing, million dollars, child. And you may see one of them have decided to, take their lives because they were dealing
Right.
with something that maybe they didn't talk to someone, who knows. But
Yes.
so we all have stuff, and it's good to be able to talk to someone.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that suicidal ideation, because that's when you do need to alert someone and say
Yes.
something about it, or even self-harm
Hmm.
as well. So
That part
those are
indeed.
key signs of seeking help. And again, find the clinician that works best for you.
Hmm. All right. So our next question, because I think the second part of the stigma, you kind of answered that before. So advice for parents. what can parents do to better support their children's emotional and mental well-being?
I would first start with social learning because our kids are sponges. So they're watching what we do, what we say, how we move, how we problem solve, how we resolve conflict, whether it's raising our voice, yelling and screaming, slamming
Mm-hmm.
doors, using profanity, or are we actually validating our feelings, talking about how we feel? I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling disappointed. I'm feeling hurt right now. And this is why. Or do we just allow those things? Do we react as opposed to respond, which is two different sides of the
Yeah.
brain? And so I would encourage parents to allow your child to connect with their emotional growth, to give them an opportunity to validate their feelings. And they might say, I don't know how I feel. So get them an emotions chart, get them
Mm-hmm.
a journal so they can write their thoughts out so that you might can start eventually talking about it. And so the beauty of that is for them to become resilient and knowing how to bounce back. They have a lot of stressors as well.
Yes.
Social media, when you see a young person, they are on a phone. They have this little thing
Mm-hmm.
constantly. And you don't, do you know, are you monitoring that screen time? Do you know what's on the other side of that screen? And so I would encourage parents to please be more vigilant and don't try to fix it, whatever that it is, being a helicopter mom and not allowing them an opportunity to understand who they are, because that's how we learn and grow.
Yeah.
That, making mistakes, having errors, and I know we don't want them to fall, but give them an opportunity to even identify who they are and what's going on. You don't know what they can do until you allow them the opportunity to do it. And so I would encourage parents to be present
Mm-hmm.
in their child's life. Have those conversations. Have the conversations. Be open to sitting down, having a family meeting, whether it's once a month, however often you can, as needed. So I would encourage that for parents to actually know what's going on with the child. Be present in their lives, not just
Excellent.
physically, be mentally present. Check
Mm-hmm.
in, check in, check in with your child, girl or boy, children, period. Check in with
Mm-hmm. Definitely. One thing that I have noticed in my tenure of working with children and families, a lot of times the parents may not be aware of their own emotional well-being,
exactly.
that part. And so when I was in an office setting, because I'm virtual now, so the dynamics are a little bit different. I would enjoy the parents actually coming into the session first and giving me a little bit of a rundown. And with
Yes,
some parents, it seemed like it was their session,
yes.
to try to help them maneuver everything they needed to do with their child. And so I could appreciate that. It's like we're gonna make this time a little longer, so I know the parent needs to be able to talk about what's going on and have their questions and everything, and then I can talk to the child, and then we can, work through everything like that. I
And they
think
need their
less
own counseling session. The parent does.
they do. Now many times they don't want they don't want it, but
Of course, they
they
don't want to
truly
pay
do.
for it. They want us to know, let me just take care of them. Yes.
Yes, definitely. And that's the thing too. If you feel like, okay, something's going on with my child and I really don't know, you get you a therapist too. Do that or do family.
Or do family.
Uh-huh. Definitely. And everybody can kind of hear it at the same time what's going on and be able to do that.
Yes,
So
for sure.
definitely. Well, we kind of mentioned it about how families can create healthier communication and stronger relationships. You said about the check-ins or the family
Yes,
meetings.
yes, because that would allow you an opportunity to assess
Mhm.
emotional intelligence. And what that is, allowing that child to gain self awareness about themselves. Some
Yes.
kids don't know who they are and what they are, what's going on in their own world.
Mhm.
Allow them to know where they are, that self awareness for them. Two, that self regulation. Can I manage my own emotions? Three, social skills. Are we just parallel walking alongside a person, or are we actually having a conversation with someone else? And if you can do that, then that builds into empathy and healthy relationships. And so if we can be effective communicators, not good communicators, I mean, we're hearing you, not just hearing you with verbal, okay, but actually listening to you. So that you can clarify and actually have a conversation. So that's the effective communication as an extra a component, because communication is key, correct? And so if it's one-sided, then the communication threshold didn't follow through. It didn't go across both waves. And so have conversations, talk. I know kids want to go to their room, close the door, play the game, and be on the iPad, be on the phone.
Yeah.
But carve out some time to be present. Carve out some time to be present. Set rules. Set some rules. Set some guidelines. Set some rules and some guidelines. Discipline is also a need.
Be consistent.
And definitely be consistent. It's consistency. And have balance in between. But be consistent and definitely have some rules and guidelines.
For sure, for sure. Because kids respond to that. They really do.
They want it. Believe it or not, they adhere. Society is made up of rules. So if you're going to allow them to be laissez-faire, things kind of go as they want to at home, what is that going to look like when they get out into the community? What is that going to look like when they're grocery in the HEB with you and they want, those chips or snacks and you say no? What is that going to look like? What's going to happen when they get to the school and there's been no consequences, but they go to the school and then there's a behavior and there's a consequence? What is that going to look like? So when you can train them up where they should go. So that's what we need to work on. It's back to the basics of fundamentals of at home. It starts at home.
That it does. That it does indeed. Indeed it does. And parents are modeling.
Yes.
If you don't know how to regulate your emotions, guess what the kid gonna do? They gonna do the same
They're
thing.
gonna mimic the same behavior.
Indeed.
You wonder where little Johnny got it from. Well,
I don't know why they act like that.
It's the pattern. It's the pattern.
That part. All right. So, advice for future therapists. What wisdom would you like to share, or could you share, to counseling students and new clinicians who are beginning their career? It's like, all right, I think I want to be a therapist. If oftentimes people have gotten their own help or whatever their influences were, and they're thinking about it, and they're like, all right, Miss White, what can I do? I'm thinking about doing it. What advice would you give them? What or suggestions would you have for them?
When I was at Lamar State College and I was a adjunct professor, and then I was a program coordinator, monitoring practicum students, some of the things they would say is, all the things they wanted to accomplish. I can't wait to get my license because I want to go and help, the population, because this is going on, that is going on. And even with LPC-S, I can't wait to go private practice. I can't wait to work for an agency because I want to do A, B, C, and D. And that is great. I'm your biggest cheerleader. Be enthusiastic. I'm going to be encouraging. I'm going to do that motivational pep talk for you. But I'm going to also ask you to slow down and pace yourself, because you will not be able to run this race if you don't monitor it and balance it out and have some guardrails around everything that you want to do. Because if you go from sun up to sundown, you're burnt out and you're not going to last. You're going to poof out. And so I would encourage you to have a target, have some parameters around what you want to do, how long you want to do it, how many hours you're going to do it in. Have some time frames around some of those things. If your caseload, manage that caseload. If it's something that needs to be done, then you're going to work on it for this point and then you're going to stop. But if you go from sun up to sundown and try to get there, you're going to eventually burn out in a very short time. You're going to burn out, literally. And so I'm encouraging you to, yes, be enthusiastic, be encouraging, be motivated, have that willpower, but also pace yourself. pace yourself. That's what I would encourage. That's what I would advise of them to do.
Definitely, because that burnout is real.
Yes, it is.
Ooh, it is real. It is real indeed. So,
Yes, it
what do
is.
you do? What are some of your self care practices? Because you wear a lot of hats. You kind of everywhere, and you're a supervisor. So you not only are you and your husband, doing, advocating and uh, blessing people in many different areas, but you have people working under you. You have to make certain that they're doing their, taking care of everything and following our ethics and stuff. So what do you do for self-care to help you not burn
My friends, my family, if they really know me, they know I'm going to say that self-care is essential.
out? Mm-hmm.
Self-care is not selfish. And
Okay.
what I like to do, depending on the time of year, uh, the summers are a little bit slower for my husband and I. So we go on a vacation. We go on a big vacation. Then we may take a road trip,
Okay.
with couples or with just him and I, and then we do the family, because I have two boys. I have two sons. And I'm going to do a shout out to my youngest son. He's in graduate school right now in the same field that my husband are in. So, but he's going a little bit
Oh,
higher than we're
good.
doing. Yeah, so I'm gonna get a plug in for him right now before I forget.
Okay, Doc.
But I love to do yoga. I like to exercise. I like to take nature walks. I like to read my devotional spiritual time and so that's just my time, not with anybody else. And so
Hmm.
I can go and watch the same movie over and over and over again, and it just makes me laugh. And I know that everything that's going to happen, but yet it's therapeutic for me. So I
Yeah.
can watch Pretty Woman probably every day. I can watch that movie every day. And so that's my self-care. That brings me joy. That calms me down. That centers me,
Mhm.
when I can have my own private time and solitude for me. And that's important because my husband and I both are in the same field. And so we have to learn I give him his space. He gives me my space. We come together, we regroup because you have to be able to recharge and reset.
Mhm.
And so I enjoy my self-care times. And like I said, it could be depending on the time of the year.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're busy, you're going, maybe August to December, then the holidays they slow down. And what
Mhm.
I do is I set time frames on when I know that things are slowing down. So by a certain time of the year, I start not accepting clients at a certain date because I know I
Okay.
want to be able to meet their need or treatment plan goals by the time
Mhm.
that I'm closing out my caseload.
Yeah.
Would I do a consultation with you? Yes. Will I refer you to someone who I think is a better fit for you? I'll send you some resources and that's why I love that networking. So I have
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
colleagues that I
Yes.
can send you to that your needs will still be met and maybe even better. And so I have
Mhm.
no problem doing that at all. And so I set boundaries. I say no with no guilt, and
Okay.
then I move on to the next thing. And it can be challenging,
Yeah.
it really can because you can really get a situation and your heart wants to help, but those parameters, and then you're burnt out because
Yeah.
you've gone too far. And so
Mhm.
I've done that before. And so now with wisdom, I'm learning this is my cutoff. Unfortunately, I won't be able to, do this presentation, or I won't be able to assist you in this way, but I can definitely assist you in other ways. And it's their choice if they want to take that or not.
Indeed, because I have learned you cannot pour from an empty cup. I have
You
learned
cannot,
that for real,
you
for real
cannot.
in real life. Yes. But
Not.
this has been awesome. This has been a very awesome conversation. And like I said, I appreciate you taking time to come out. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us that we didn't ask already? Anything you'd like for us to know? Anything in particular about mental health, about you, your practice, what you're doing, your services, any of those things?
Just for the new clinicians, I would just like to remind them also to adhere to the ethical standards and boundaries, because I have had other people say, well, my counselor didn't do that, or my counselor. they just gave me advice, or my counselor just sat there and looked at me for 50 minutes and didn't really say anything. And so I would really encourage them to adhere to the ethical guidelines, be genuine, be authentic, have empathy, set boundaries, be clear and concise, be honest, have integrity, have character, um, be concise, be consistent. If you say you're going to do something, please follow through and do it. And I
Yes.
know we can't be everything for everyone, but I don't want to hear that account get a bad rap, that a
Mm-hmm.
counselor is not doing that. And we know that happens in every field, every
Yeah.
profession, whether it's teaching or your culinary or whatever it is. But I would
Mm-hmm.
just encourage to please adhere to ethical standards. I'm a big proponent of integrity and honesty. And if I can't do something, I'm just going to say I can't do it. Or my skill set.
Yeah.
If that is not in my skill set, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to pretend like I know. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
professional learner. I'm open to learning, and
Mm-hmm.
I can learn, but I'm not going to take on something that I know the capacity, the skill set is out of my limit. It's
Yeah.
out over my under my limit. It's over my limitations. I don't have that. And so I would just like to encourage to plug that. And those who are listening, I thank them for taking the time to even be with us tonight. I mean,
Yes.
that's joy myself, for people just to pop in, or people that I've even invited, people you've invited, that they
Mm-hmm.
actually took the time to be here. And so that for them, mental health is important because they showed up. They showed
Yes.
up. And so um unless you have any other follow-up questions, I think I've provided everything you've asked. I'm sitting here processing
Okay.
our
Okay.
conversation just to make sure I didn't overlook anything, or maybe not, shared enough of something, or not.
Okay. I think
Just
you
to
were
make
good.
sure, the clarity was there. The clarity was
Mm-hmm.
there. And but mental health is, you see it on a daily basis. You can just in the public, when we see things that's
Mm-hmm.
going on.
For
And
sure. It's just so much, a lot of aggression.
yes,
A lot of aggression out there. And I'm
yes,
like, what is the root? What is the cause? Because it's definitely something. People don't just act out like that just because,
yes,
it's definitely something going on out there. And we know people, we know their backstories. And just because we are aware we've had trauma, or we were upset about something, don't just dismiss it. Well, they had, as a little kid, they had XYZ. Okay, but encourage them to get some help. Or even as an individual, well, my family threw me out or something. Okay, but don't take it out on the world.
yes.
There is help out there.
And that's what's
And
going on. Families are actually killing family members now.
yeah, oh
Yeah,
man.
and so that's just a detriment to my heart. But I would just
Mhm.
make sure, in the comments, because people have taken the time to be here, make sure there's nothing that they're asking us, just to be sure before we log off, because I do appreciate them being here. Make sure there's no questions or anything for either one of us.
I don't see any questions, just kind of agreeing. I think communication is important more than just talking. As a parent, we need to learn how to listen.
Oh,
People agreeing, and someone mentioned that they watched Pretty Woman over and over again because it was the last movie that they watched with their father before passing. And it was
oh, what a
very
memory!
therapeutic.
Oh, what a beautiful memory!
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
for sharing that.
Yes, thank you all for sharing it. So, Linda, how if someone wants to, obtain your services, you and your husband, or you or your husband, how do they get in touch with you? Where are you? What can people are watching this like, oh, I think Linda is great. How can they find you? What are you doing? How can they keep up with you, or even request an appointment if needed?
We are strictly virtual, and you can be reached at HigherView Counseling and Consulting. We have a website, and then my email address is lwhite at higherviewccs.com. That's lwhite at higherviewccs.com. And then the website is HigherView Counseling and Consulting. And it should pop up.
Okay,
We
awesome.
do professional development. We do professional development for special needs at school districts as well.
Nice,
So we
nice.
have that lined up, and that's really a joy. We
Yeah,
really, yes, yes,
much needed.
yes,
Truly, truly,
yes.
definitely. All right. Well, Linda, I thank you so much once again, like I said, for taking time out of your busy, busy schedule or vacationing, because it might be that time of the year. But
I'm
I
in
appreciate
between.
you.
It's starting back. It's already started back up. You
Start
know.
back up. I hear you.
Yes,
And for
yes.
those who are viewing, I do appreciate you all for taking time, as Linda mentioned. If you are just now joining us, you can catch the replay on YouTube and give us about a couple weeks. We will be on Pandora, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So mental health is important. Make certain that you take care of yourselves. If you know someone who is in need, just give them a soft space, create some, make some space for them, and there are resources, provide them with some resources. All righty, again, thank you so much. Y'all be blessed. Y'all have a good
Thank you
night.
for having me. This was an